Hello everyone! Today I decided to make another video suggesting tips and tricks for newer and slightly less experienced players. You guys really seem to like the previous two videos that I made on the subject, so here's a third part. Anyways, let's get straight into it. Alrighty, so the first thing that we are going to be talking about in today's video is something that I actually put in the thumbnail of my last video similar to this one. And the problem was that I made the thumbnail before I actually made the video in the first place. Basically, I was supposed to talk about the subject that you could see in the thumbnail, but I never actually ended up doing it. Now this backfired a little bit and I did get some comments about it. Now this is not something that I feel the need to address or anything because it really was not that serious. Nevertheless, the thumbnail was a little bit too much, I will admit that. Nevertheless, the first thing that we're going to be talking about is dice ores. Now this could be a controversial take, but in my personal opinion, you should not always buy the dice ores. Now before you go into the comments and tell me, no, always buy the dice ores, why would you not buy the dice ores? Hear me out. Whenever I see a discussion about dice ores, people always tell the newer players to buy the dice ores as fast as they see them. Now I do definitely see why they're doing that, and I honestly do not disagree with them. If you do end up getting a dice ore in your shop, you could definitely buy it, but I do not always think that it is necessary to get it if you are a newer player. What I mean by this is that more experienced players, pretty much people that has played the game for longer, usually have a lot of gems stacked up. Most of the time they make more gems than they are able to spend, basically. So when you always have a lot of spare gems, there is literally no reason not to buy the dice ores. But if you are a newer player and you just started playing the game, I personally do think that you should prioritize legendary chests or things such as battlefields to begin with. Of course, dice ores are extremely good, but if you have a very limited selection of dices unlocked, I think it's definitely better to go for the legendary chest and thereby have a chance to get whatever legendary that you actually need at the moment. Dice ores are great to hire your classes on specific dices that you would want at a higher class, but if you do not have that dice in the first place, I do not really see a reason to get a dice ore for it. So to summarize this point specifically, if you have a lot of spare gems, definitely get the dice ores whenever you see them. They are probably the most worth currency-like item in this game, and they get really important later on. But if you're stuck at around 1,000 gems and you don't have that many legendaries unlocked, definitely save up and preferably buy the legendary chests in the shop. Anyways, moving on to the next subject. Something that I always tell new players that are decently active in playing the game is to always join a crew. Something that I see not all new players, but quite a lot of them, is that they're usually not in a very good crew. Now, I'm sure most crews has some good things about them and some less good things, possibly. Nevertheless, the most important part about a crew for you as a new player is probably going to be the activeness in crew raid. A lot of the crews out there really don't do all that well in terms of crew raid. Now you might be asking yourself, why do you need to be in an active crew? Well, basically there are a lot of really good rewards that you can get if you are in a good crew. Now you definitely do not have to be in the best crew in the game, but preferably getting into a crew that is around top 100 in terms of crew performance. Now this is actually quite a lot easier to get into than you might initially think. If you progress a little bit further into the game and get somewhere around 1,000 plus crit, there are quite a few crews that you could possibly join and basically earn tons from. There are of course slightly less active crews than that as well that really won't earn you as much, but they will still give you something most of the time, and that is always going to be a big bonus in the long run. So simply, if you're an active player, be sure to join a good crew with a Discord by chance, so you can communicate with the other crew members and plan everything out for the crew raid that will earn you a bunch. You can get anything from dice ore pieces all the way to full dice ores if you get a little bit lucky in the crew shop, but you can also get guaranteed free legendaries every single season. Anyways, moving on to subject number 3. If you haven't already, be sure to subscribe So the third thing that we are going to be talking about in this video is do not always watch tutorials and ask people. It is definitely fine to ask others about their opinions on things, such as how good a specific dice is, for example. Now personally, I am all about giving advice, so this is a little bit toward myself as well. I quite literally have this entire channel mainly based on tutorials and simply sharing whatever experience that I have with this game. And I also made a dice tier list just a few days ago as recording this, so I'm not actually sure if I am someone to talk about this subject or not. I am here to give as much advice and be as entertaining as I can be, but that does not mean that I'm right about every statement and every opinion that I have regarding random dice. In my opinion, the best thing you can do is experiment and test stuff all on your own. Test things out, see what works for you, get inspired by other people, and even from my videos as an example. Try to take something that I've said or something that someone else has said and experiment with it. Play around with it and see how you feel about it, and see what you like, what you enjoy, what works, what doesn't work, and all these different aspects of it. From my personal experience, this makes the game a lot more fun than simply just staying and sticking to the same thing that everybody else does all the time. Even if you hear that a dice is bad, you might as well try and mix something up with it, and thereby perhaps find something that you like playing, and maybe even something that works really well against things that others play. I think it's good to have a good mixture of doing what you like and doing what works, pretty much. I basically think it's a good idea to have a good mix about your own personal things that you like playing and things that actually do work in the meta, as an example. So do not be afraid to play around, have fun with the different dices, and basically experiment all you want. Don't take whatever others say for granted. And so the next subject for right now is going to be something that is a little bit similar to what I literally just spoke about in my previous point. And I just want to say this already now. I know there's a community about random dice on Reddit, and I have absolutely nothing against that subreddit whatsoever. But from what I've seen and experienced myself, not everything that is said and asked about in that subreddit is completely accurate. A lot of things that you hear, not necessarily just from Reddit, but just in general, might simply not be true. So simply do not take everything you see and hear for granted. A lot of the things said in the community might be true at times, but at other times it might not be as true as you might think it is. This could be anything from statements or things you've seen in the game visibly. My personal example that I'm going to be bringing is something that I saw a few people get confused with, on Reddit specifically. Now this was regarding the top 100 leaderboard, and it was regarding the so-called top 100 finish off decks. So basically people play one last deck before they finish off for the season, and it's simply just for display, but some people did get confused about it and pretty much thought that those decks actually worked. Now of course some of the decks on the leaderboards do actually work. Not everybody plays one last game to set a display for their profile, but it happens quite a lot that people actually do. So simply do not trust everything you see in different chat rooms or different social media that is related to the game. Anyways, those are pretty much all the tips for this video. I really hope at least some of you did find this useful. If you did, be sure to let me know in the comments down below and ask me if you have further questions about anything mentioned in the video. But anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. I really hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll hopefully see you in my next video. Take care, stay safe, and later.